Welcome to another week of Exploring Consciousness with the Earth Nouveau Hub. And today we're having a question. We're going to explore the question of what is my external world telling me, about myself. And when we say external world, we can really look. I mean, you're all familiar with the mirror principle from a relationship perspective, but we're obviously in relationship with everything, not just other human beings. So I would like to look at everything. It's like places, people, places, animals, pictures, finds, food, anything we can think of. What is it telling us about ourselves? And then let's see if we can still get surprised. We might know everything about ourselves already, but we might not. And I know that Amy wants to kick it off.
All right. Okay, so yeah, this may be nothing. It may be nothing, but it could go to something more, a bigger picture. So I was at the beach a couple weekends ago, and I'm walking along in the morning, and I find this horseshoe crab. So I picked it up. Look how ancient. I'm like, oh my God, this thing is beautiful. Okay. I didn't get the other piece of the body because it kind of was stinky, and this was not. But look at this thing.
Amazing.
It just spoke to me, horseshoe crab. So then I go to look it up. It's not really a crab. It's an arachnid, like a spider or a scorpion. It's not really a crab. And it said living fossil. I'm like, living fossil? That's kind of like an oxymoron a little bit. Living fossil. So I looked up living fossil, and it means existed nearly unchanged for at least 445 million years. This thing, unchanged.
Wow.
Kept its form. And then I'm like, okay, so we can be living fossils. Because then I went into what is a fossil. So I had to look that up. And it said it's preserved remains or traces of remains of ancient organisms. Fossils are not the remains of the organism itself. They are rocks. A fossil can preserve an entire organism or just part of one. So like bones, shells, feathers, leaves. So then I'm like, okay, Amy, living fossil, you're a living fossil. So then I went like, oh my God, so there are remains of me from the past out in the earth somewhere. That's where my mind went. Where I felt it was like Israel, Mesopotamia. I don't know, I was feeling all these ancient ruins that have a piece of me. Now, this might be nothing to anybody, but to me, it was like, holy crap. If I was a tree, there's a leaf of my imprint of that, or, an ocean animal or something. So I don't know. That's where the external was showing me how big we are and how long we've lived. I mean, you could read it and you can say we've lived blah, 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 but I don't know, that really like stuck, that really like, whoa, and it's all here again. Like it's all here again in me, all again, all those living fossils that I lived, whatever that was. So that was my big, like, whoa. So to expand on that. Yeah.
I like, what an introduction, because that is exactly what I was wondering about. All these finds, especially those finds that we are, being attracted to, are they attracted to us without really consciously making a choice, until we seemingly not making a conscious choice, right? But, and some. Now, you were saying when you were reading the fossil definition, it's no longer alive, right? And that it is something, read that again, please.
Yeah, so a fossil is preserved remains or traces of remains of ancient organisms. And they said fossils are not the remains of the organism itself, but I don't know. It's kind of like, well, I don't know. but they're rocks. So a fossil can preserve an entire organism or just part of one, like bones, shells, feathers, and leaves. But then types of fossils I found are body, molecular, trace fossils, carbon fossils, and pseudofossils. So then I printed something out about the types of fossils. So, but what was weird was like, okay, but if a fossil was not the remains of the organism itself, so you see, you know, I have a fossil like a leaf print. So are you telling me it didn't leave any kind of trace at all? I would think it would leave something.
Is not, say this again, it's not the remains itself, or
Of
what?
of the organism itself. It's not the remains of the organism. So aren't there like I would think like even for a leaf, like tiny cells of a leaf in there somewhere? I don't know.
I was,
There's
you
a-
know, because you know, I initially got it because I was looking at it from the opposite perspective. It's not, you know, the remains of the organism itself, because I actually started looking at it as us, as fossils, but you know, as a residual, you know, but we keep continuously changing our residual images. So, you know, but we are no longer the same, because the original organism, I don't know, but the original, you know, of us is obviously spirit, right?
yeah.
So there is, but what fossil probably means is that there is an evolution to it, and then at some stage it stops.
Okay. Well, like us, we don't look the same as we did.
Well, we carry on. So I think this is why we are not considered as fossils just yet, because we're carrying on. As long as there is breath within us, think about it. As long as there is breath within us, as long as we maintain this physical body through the connection to the soul is breathing through us. So through the soul connection, through the connection to spirit, we maintaining a level that is beyond fossil state.
Okay, but then they put living fossil in front of it. So is this fossil living? Is this still living, even though he doesn't have any remain, you know, nothing inside of him?
No, now I would say it's a dead fossil, but as long as it had something inside,
It's a living.
it was a living fossil. So maybe, you know, it's an interesting thing.
It's interesting to look at. Yeah.
May I jump in and say something? Hi, all of you.
Hi.
What they're probably saying, and I'm thinking here, is that they're saying it's a living fossil. Maybe it's because it's something you can see and touch and feel.
Well, it said existed nearly unchanged. That's how they explained living fossil to me. That's what I looked up.
So when it's saying remains unchanged for 45 million years.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that it's an idea within the mind of the creator, right? We go back to divine mind. So divine mind have all these ideas within itself. And once an idea is established in the mind of the creator, it remains that idea. It doesn't change. It remains unchanged throughout all eternal history. So when they're saying that the what do you read that part again? It means
existed nearly unchanged for at least 445 million years.
Right. So it's the idea itself remains unchanged.
So do we remain unchanged because we have our soul? Our soul is our soul.
Well, if your soul remains unchanged, yeah, you are the idea within the divine mind that sends you forth, just like it sent that crab forth. It's a spiritual idea, not the physical idea that you see, because your body can physically change. You can look like Amy 25 years ago and Amy, different looking Amy, you know, another 50 years from now. So it's just a residual energy that you're made up of that flickers, you know, and shifts around. And so one day you might look like your mom, one day you might look like your dad, or some aunt or uncle, right? So that image, depending on your, I would think, your thoughts that you're thinking could contribute to your shifting in your residual image. But you as an idea remains the same. But when it comes to like the crab and stuff like that, to me, they don't think the same way that a human being would think. So then their residual image remains almost unchanged. They go through the growing process from a baby crab to an adult crab. And once they reach that adult stage, their image just continue on to be the same. Does that make sense? That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
This is the beautiful thing. We all have, all sorts of stuff coming up. As Lana, as you're speaking as well, what I'm, I look at the fossil. I don't necessarily, I can't put myself in the fossil category, because as a living organism, even as a soul consciousness, there is this evolutionary that is continuously driving us forward. But what I do like very much is when I look at the fossil itself and I look at the 400 years or something, because it just reminds me of the long-term agenda of the soul. It's like that long it has maintained a certain definition and identification, and that leads me to look at if I would find that, and I can only speak now for myself in terms of, for me, it would be an invitation to steady my pace, and to look long-term agenda of my soul, instead of looking for instant gratification, that sort of impatience that keeps creeping through us, And there's something soothing about this fossil in a way, because it's still around, and we're looking at it and it's like, oh my God, wow, amazing, So it's not all about instant gratification.
Yeah,
So
and I also
sec.
thought of the unchanged. Even though we change, we're still, to me, this is my thought, our soul is not, it's the same. It's like the fossil. To me, it's unchanged. Our soul is our soul is our soul. Yes, we come here and we're a tree, or we're a flower, or we're, a dog or cat, which that's how we morph ourselves or change ourselves. But I was looking at the same thing, like the constant of the unchanged soul. So looking now, I can go deeper into my soul, that soul part that I've not really dug into. What is that unchanged feeling? What is that pure feeling inside me of my soul? That
So
makes
that's
sense.
why I come back to when I say we're ideas. Think of yourself as an idea. Your soul is an idea from the divine mind, that divine mind sent forth into the universe. That is the part that remains unchanged throughout all eternal history.
But we chose to.
I
chose that. Yeah.
Chip in here, because the soul evolves through the experience. The idea of the reincarnation cycle is, apart from the forcefully instigated, throwing us back into a body all the time, the soul has a continuation. It changes all the time. This is the whole idea of spirit creating a soul in the first place, spirit and matter getting together to create a soul, so that spirit can evolve and get to know itself through the soul that is continuously, traveling, and not just on the physical plane, but on all the other different planes. And it feeds back to spirit. Think about it. When, we as the body communicate with the soul. So the soul talks to us, we talk to the soul. We are the instrument of the soul, receiving the impulses. And then through the experiences that we are creating in the physical, we're feeding back to the soul. Now the soul is the interpreter between us and spirit. It takes that information and passes it on to spirit. and say, hey, look, this is what we achieved, right? So there is an expansion continuously. It doesn't have to be only forward expansion. Yes, we have, lifetimes, or, where we go backwards as well. This is just the way it works. But there is definitely a continuation and an expansion of the soul.
I just wanted to say what a fun topic this is. You mentioned the topic and the horseshoe crab, and I'm thinking, okay. And then as you all were speaking, I thought, okay, this is kind of how I was feeling. But the idea of it was very grounding for me, thinking about this horseshoe crab, because it kind of reminded me about, we're all stardust, that feeling of, the carbon and all the elements of the universe. And then to fast forward to maybe the time when the ancient crabs or the dinosaurs were around, I think, gosh, it just kind of grounded me into those elements, if that makes any sense. So that was really, really neat. And also another thing that reminded me, because we're all connected, is when we were speaking of the jewels, the crown jewels, and all of the historical. It's almost like I could feel all the historical wars and things happening in history. And at that point, I had my soul had the memory of it coming back, and then feeling connected to it. I don't know. I'm trying to. It's very grounding, kind of a humbling kind of thing.
Yeah.
From the galactic, and then I'm like, oh wait, here we are on Earth, and there's horseshoe crabs on, or wherever we find them, and I don't know. It's a wonderful topic.
Yeah, I it's that permanence of the impermanence, right? It is soothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Is there anything more, because it was your find? So what is my external world showing me about me? If you had one word for that, Amy, as your find of horseshoe fossil, what is it saying about you?
Well, it could, have to do with the unchanged, like a change for me. A change is coming. And also the word steady, just because sometimes I'm not steady. I'm not steady. So like being unchanged for 445 million years, that was like, oh, huge.
Yeah.
That was like, holy mackerel, unchanged. How can that be? But yet it felt steady, like Cynthia was saying, like there's a grounding to it. There's a steadiness to it.
Absolutely. And let's face it, I mean, this fossil, this doesn't mean that it has been here for 400 million years.
No, right.
It's died, it's come back. It's died, it's come back. It's died, it's come back. But
just like us, though.
The soul focus was so specific.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is part of what got excited in me, because, with so much, what's my purpose? Okay, gotta be this, and this. I like this. But there is a very specific one.
Right. That's what I'm trying to get to. Like that one piece of my soul that I haven't touched yet. That steadiness of it. I don't know what it is.
Ancient.
What? Ancient. It's ancient. But yet it's not, because I'm here now. Yeah, I don't.
Quality is ancient.
Yeah.
And the quality
Qualities.
has been with you in all your incarnations.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's been with me this whole time. And this horseshoe was showing me that, take a look at it, Amy. It's time. It's time to look at it. What is that ancient piece that you've been hiding?
It's so cool. I love it. Here's a question for all of us. What is your ancient fossil quality that you have not acknowledged yet?
Love
Question
it.
for everyone. Oh, we got another tail here.
Oh, hello.
Hi, Sean.
Ancient
does-
quality. It's not an easy question, eh?
Mm-mm.
Because I want to say 10 or 20, not just one. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
Let's leave it at that. Let's ponder that with the steady contemplation. Okay. Let's take the energy of the fossil, of the horseshoe fossil, the steady contemplation, and ponder our fossil quality.
Let me show Sean so he can see it.
Ooh, did you do some, what do you got? Ooh.
A horseshoe crab. That's his,
Oh.
that's the butt part, actually.
Whoa.
The tail, the
Those,
tail comes. What is it?
those are blue blood fuckers, eh?
Blue blood. Oh,
They
is
have
it?
blue blood.
They have blue blood?
They have blue blood. For whatever. Oh, boom. Not to just put you in a shock, but it's kind of cool. It's
That's
beautiful.
cool. Yeah, we
Right.
were talking.
Spaceship as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
You
my
found
God.
that, Amy?
Yeah, on the beach. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah.
It's
So
gorgeous. Can I see the bottom? Oh, that's so pretty.
yeah.
Those
Look
are
at
his
that.
little leggies.
I think that's his. Well, I don't know.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to see.
Kind of sharp. They're kind of sharp.
Maybe it's just like,
Maybe he eats there. I don't know. But his tail would come out here.
wow, look at all the spines. Like a warrior.
Oh, maybe that is a spine.
Like just, he's just
Yeah, that's a spine.
shells and spikes.
Yeah, spikes.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, so beautiful.
Sean, were you holding up something in front of the camera?
What?
Hmm?
Were you holding up something in front of the camera earlier?
Yeah.
It looked like an old fish or something. Did you put something up earlier?
That was the horseshoe crab.
No, I thought maybe Sean had put something up
Oh,
that he was showing.
Just
Okay.
a cat.
Oh.
I was like, he showcased himself. He's like,
I
oh.
thought it was some kind of fossil fish that you had on your wall or something. Never mind, you were showing us. Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So that was the first find. That was a find. Amy showed us that, you know, in order to explore what is her external world telling us about her gifts and her. So who else got something to chat about? Anything in your external world that says something about you?
well, I'll let everybody else do it, but I do have something else. It's very short, but go ahead. You guys go.
For me, the only thing, mine's not so as interesting as the horseshoe crab.
Oh,
But
come
just-
on.
Yeah. I mean, life is always interesting every second. But the one thing I can think of, it's more on a relationship, but my sister came to visit and I really reflected about some of the qualities that just energetically, you know, I don't like. So I just really had the opportunity to really reflect on perhaps some of the behaviors that I might have in terms of some of the things that we maybe got from our mother. And so I really like, wait a minute, hold on. And I really, that was really really an opportunity for me to take a look at that later. So that's really nice. So I've really been observing how I speak, or anyway, so that was great. Maybe that's an old fossil I'm, letting go. But it's just fascinating, You're like, oh, there's another layer there. Wait a minute. That's not mine necessarily. It's like a shell. Maybe it's a shell. It was like, oh wait, I'm gonna release that shell. That's really neat.
Well, that is the advantage or the potency of being in relationship, or seeing everything in relation to us, because everything has something to tell us about ourselves, because of course we're living in this illusory sort of hologram, really, that everything outside ourselves is us, is a perception and a reflection,
Yeah.
but I don't necessarily think it very useful to go on about the illusory, idea of the reality, because, it doesn't really help us,
Like, if it is, then good. If not, it's like, yeah, whatever.
Exactly. I'm really more interested. Now, I don't take it away. Of course it is. We all know that. But, the question is, what can we do with what we can actually perceive, touch, smell, eat, and all of that? So when we talk about, as I said, what is my external world showing me, it goes beyond what we find. It goes, I don't know, what movies do we watch? And, do you find that, for me, for instance, when I do channel hopping, and I switch on a movie, or, something, a documentary or whatever, it always shows me who I am. And I don't even know what the title is, because I never read the title. I never read the blurb. I just put it on and it's like, okay, here we go again. We talk about, most of it is obviously sci-fi, that kind of right. Yeah, but that's what I'm drawn to. So what kind of movies are you drawn to?
Well, this one's funny. I was watching a show called Imposters and learning about the con game and the con artist, and how, whoa, that's pretty interesting.
Was it
Definitely
dark, or did it give you an appreciation?
No, it wasn't dark. It was not dark at all. It was kind of fluffy. It was a fluffy show, but yeah, it was just how I'm sure, and the imposter, like the con of it, and then the con would con the con, and then it'd be like, oh my God, they're conning each other. How about the truth? What's the truth? I'm telling the truth. No, you're not. It was like, how do you, what is the truth? Then it's like, well, what is the truth? I don't know. It's a fluffy show, but it was kind of interesting to me to see how they play out con artists and imposters. And they were trying to get money from, all about money and getting money from people. So interesting. I'm sure I definitely was one.
Those are fun movies.
Yeah,
it's like each person thinks they're in control, and then there's like layers of control, and each person's controlling the next layer, and they're like stacked on top of each other until eventually someone comes out victorious, usually like in the movie sense.
Yes,
and then someone has no money after.
And it's like, this, we did all this for money. I don't know, but that was interesting when you said that.
Is also when you have a lot of that relationship and all, what's going on and back and forth, we learn about pattern recognition through those movies. So it's often not so much like I've been an imposter myself at some life, yes, we can take that for granted, just like we can take the illusion for granted, but it's actually, for what purpose are you drawn to watching this now? So for instance, I watch at the moment, I'm watching all these forensics, and this criminal activity, London kills, and it's like, whoa, why am I watching this? And literally it is about pattern recognition, to learn about how it's all connected, because there's always a little twist, you know. Oh, did you know about, oh, I didn't come see that coming, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
Last one I watched, which was just different because I don't usually go into war movies, but it was like the greatest beer run ever, and it was hilarious. But it was like just a kid from New York, and it's based on a true story, who brought beer to his friends in the Vietnam War, and like realized by the time he got there that everything he knew about it was completely ass backwards. And they just, it felt like so much resolve was coming through, just because like they were just showing all the messed up shit that was happening with the best of intentions from normal people. Like everyone just thought they were just doing the best of intentions and just doing their duty and their thing. And then you got this guy delivering beer and like walking into a war zone, but not really realizing it, because like the media spun it a completely different way, saying they were winning, but they were losing, and not really knowing how fucked up it was. It was really fun. It was a good one.
so what did that movie, you know, as we're looking at that, say about you watching?
Oh.
What did you make of that when you apply it to yourself?
Well, putting down the guns, putting down the war, putting down the hostility, because it just brought so much friendliness to it. Like you could joke and laugh about some of the most sick and twisted bad history, and that was really refreshing. And what was funny, the main lead character was Zac Efron, who like was like a family channel or
Disney.
Disney, thank you, like a Disney star, and I had no clue until I finished watching the movie, and I was like, oh, I love this movie so much. Who's doing it? And I was like, this guy. And he played the character so well that it was like you had no clue. And it was like great, because when I was that young too, I was so against Disney characters and this and that. And then one just played the greatest lead role ever. I was like, huh. Because back then I would have been prejudiced against it just because of a name. And then not knowing, I was like, damn, actors, this slow realization that actors are amazing. Like they are super skillful individuals. And it's usually just the twisted reality and all the perceptions we fill them up with that make us dislike them. But usually they're masters of their art and at creating.
And for what it's worth, I'd like to say that I can perceive that energy in you, that joyful guy that walks in and makes fun of stuff and just, you know, in an intelligent way. Yeah. So I can totally see you. I haven't watched the movie, obviously, but from just what you were saying, I can totally see why you resonated with that.
Yeah, and like, I don't know what it was growing up, but like, there were just a lot of anger that grew up in our family and our neighborhoods, and just, you know, just groups fighting other groups and bullying and literally getting into fist fights and just hurting each other. And it's like, but it came so naturally. And then you look back later, it's like, why did we do that? Like, were we that so frustrated with our circumstances that we just had to go around and pick fights with random strangers anywhere? And, you know, coming to terms with that, like that runs deep. I think that has a lot to do with like this white Caucasian, English, Irish, German descent for like the last few hundred years. Just really pissed off and wants to fight things.
And what you just said is very fossil, isn't it? I mean, nothing to do with the person that is now in his skin suit, because we can't even remember what's going on, but it's tapping into that consciousness. So it's identifying with that consciousness. Why? Because of, I don't know, fitting into society or fitting into a certain grouping or that kind of thing.
Yeah, like what shapes and forms and shadows are projecting from a time that's just inside of me, not really part of me, or at least not what I want to be. And it's like, I'm not going to allow those past shapes and forms to fill me.
Fabulous.
You'll
Wow.
learn from them because they're fun. You know, it's a great story. Everyone loves a good antagonist, or else you don't even have a good story.
All right.
But
I see a good
Moving on.
revocation. I see a good revocation coming, Sean.
I think so too.
About, yeah, that would
And
be cool.
kick them out of the dreams.
Yeah. Love that.
Fabulous. Who else wants to share something that they have in there? Herminia.
Martina, the funny thing is that I'm driving, it's raining, that's why I'm in silent. However, you know, I want to mention, I hardly watch any movie or stuff. Sometimes, you know, something that I funny to do, because for some reason, I don't know, I feel that when I watch anything that I get so a part of it, because the other day I was, you know, and every time I feel like I kind of little down or something, looking for a movie. For some reason, I see like a dragon. I click out in Amazon Prime, and then it was this movie called The Ring of Time. And it was so much violence. I saw those beings trying to capture somebody that had dragon blood. And then they need to stop because he was already born again, and then he was in the 16-year-old, and then they went to the village and killed almost all the young, and somebody that knew about it came and captured 4 of those young, 3 boys and 1 girl, and it was so much violent that affected me a lot. And I decided not to continue watching the series, but it's a series from I think they have in Amazon. Any case, I started watching it, and it was another movie too that had to do with the mermaid. And for some reason, at night I was feeling that I was inside in the water, that I was living with a mermaid. And I said, that's why I don't feel so motivated to watch movie. And there was a movie called One Upon a Time, something like that, was a series too. And one night I woke up and went to the bathroom. I couldn't feel the water in my hands. It was like I don't have my physical body. And I started watching the series too. I don't know. I had to find out why that happened to me. In any case, I am silent because I'm driving.
Okay. Well, thanks.
Herminia, but funny that you bring that up, because I got up to get this book because just recently, like maybe a month ago, I was on like the AD site and looking at the Dragon webinar, and I saw a comment that you made about this book, you know, like being and dreaming.
Right.
And I had no clue that any of these books by her existed.
Wow.
And then I got this one, and you know, the 2 other ones that she wrote.
Yes.
And I'm reading a 3rd one now. But yeah, you say dragons, and I got this book, and I wanted to tell you because it's just so good. It's so good. Finally, like another woman's perspective on the John stuff.
Yeah, those books are mean a lot to me, a lot. The one Untouchable, I mean, they brought me from the grave, because you know, one time my life was 8 hours sit down, I couldn't take a shower. Because for me, the big job was not take the shower, it was to take the clothes on and off. That it was a big job for me. That's so down I was sitting on the couch, thinking how to take a shower. And those books bring me back alive, really. It's amazing.
Well, that's another perfect example, you know, how stuff is attracted into our life, how we attract stuff through synchronicity, right? And it's really, I mean, it is guided in a way that he's going on to the AB's Dragon webinar. The next thing is he's getting like the book. Okay, now he's got 3 books at home. So, you know.
Turn left on Wine and Strive, then turn left on Graham.
I was really happy when I found it, because it's always the best when you find something that you didn't even realize existed. It's just like, it feels like it just materialized out of thin air. Poof.
Yeah.
Because I love these books so much.
And having said that, you had to take action, right? You had to choose to actually buy it off Amazon, you know?
Yeah. And then the strange part was the one that Herminia posted, I found it. And then I looked at, there was only one book, but then I found she kind of goes by two names at the same time. And then there was two more books and I was so happy. But they weren't easily accessible. They just, you know, I read the first one, then finally the next two appeared, as it usually goes.
So we'll be interested to hear what you're learning about yourself as you read the books.
Well, the last one, the beautiful part, they talk about mediums a lot, which is something they haven't done in many of the other books. And again, this is from like the women's perspective, which you read the books and it's like, wow, men and women are so different. Like we're a lot alike, but women are the almighty powerful beings. Just to you five listening, it's like, damn, I drew the short stick sometimes. But then I learned like, I was a sacred feminine before I became a sacred masculine, because we're all born female and then we turn male in the womb. Like I forget how far along, but we're all born female, and then, you know, something with the genes happens, and then we choose to be male.
And
So
and you got a very strong female in you. So,
oh yeah.
And I can see you, what I would look at that is you are actually activating the female that is in you. Just because you got a male body doesn't mean that you haven't got a female. You got a very strong female.
Yeah, you just those times just trying to put together the physical reality and my dreaming reality, because it's like, where is my womb? Like like since I don't have a physical one, I really got to manifest and connect to one. Or like, you know, like when I was in the womb. But it's like, wombs are so powerful when you read these books. It's like, oh wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But you know, John, it's very interesting how one thing bring another one, because I was explaining to my father. My father is 94-year old, but he's in very good shape. I spent like 4 months helping him to recover. And he was asking if he want to find a girlfriend because he cannot be alone. And I was explaining to him, because after I read this kind book with Abelard, I understood, and that's got me to have more compassion for men too at the same time, because we is born with the uterus, the wound. We had that code, that connection with creation, because we had that organ inside us that represent life. And then I met a girl from Colombia. She used to live in Peru, I think. And then she got from her grandma a code how to activate women and the wound for the women when they have problems, you know, that they haven't had to go through surgery, or even they have been removed, they still have a feeling because it's there. It's just the physical one that is not there. Any case, I was telling my father that it's normal for men to feel that loneliness, that they are like a detached. And that's why for women it's easy to be alone and don't be suffering from loneliness. It's easy for us to survive than men to survive by himself. And I was explaining to him, but you know, I have to explain the way like a neutral, because he's a Seventh-day Adventist. How you, somebody that believes just in Jesus Christ, you start talking about those things. However, I tried to put in words that he couldn't understand, not put in my position, just to make him understand why he was feeling like that. It was kind of interesting that you said that now you have to activate yours.
My grandpa, he was 87 years old, and he got a girlfriend again. His high school sweetheart, that he reconnected with his high school sweetheart at 87 years old, and they started just hanging around, and oh my gosh, did he ever have a shine on for the next 3 years. I guess like fucking grandpa's regressing to a childhood state. Like
yeah, because the feminine part of us is the one that activates life, because we represent life. And that's why I have understanding. And I think from my point of view, that he's to keep practicing compassion, and neutral, no judgment, because my father is 94 and he's decided to have a companionship tribe, and I don't have anyone, and I don't want anyone. I feel so free that I don't need anyone. However, I see his point of view, and he needs to feel so, belong to somebody, or somebody care for him. And I understand that helped me to be neutral, to have compassion and understanding, and being there like in 0 point, no judgment to either side. And with those books, I understood, I learned all the stuff. If I would know about those books before, I won't be through the suffering I went in my life. I hopefully many people that will be able to access to those kind of knowledge, because really it will be different world.
Fantastic. Fantastic. It's like, yeah, well, hey, Snooky. Well, 80 is the new 18.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to be now, so, as we are expanding our lifespan.
I think, those old people that are just filled with so much vitality kind of thing, because like Grandpa was 87, he lived till he was 90, and like his girlfriend, like she just passed away about a year ago, but like she lived to 99 years old, and she had her driver's license the whole time, and just she was just like this old lady with the sharpest memory you've ever seen, and one of those ones with the light in their eyes. It's literally just like, it's a fine speck, but it's shining out like
Wow.
power.
Yes. That's wonderful.
Fabulous. So, okay, let's move on from what's next. What is the country? What is the country you were born in? How is that external world? What is that external world telling you about you?
I was born in Canada, eh?
Well, from my point of view, I was born in Dominican Republic, but however, I always was like feeling like I don't belong over there, because I used to, when I saw the China war, the beat, how they call the beat, a war that is in China that people are going all year to, for adventure. When I saw that, I feel so connected. I was over there. And when I saw in the islands, those big trees and everything that was green catch my attention. I understood that I've been in this planet maybe for years, because I don't feel like I belong to any country or any flag or any religion. I feel so liberated about people. They celebrate Independence Day, all that stuff. I never felt connected with us same. And even the food that we used to in Dominican Republic, after I immigrated to United States, I was put in different position in places, restaurant, health food store, and I learned so much about food that I don't eat the food that was grow up, and it's like it helped me to detach, and it's helped me so much that it's helped me, making me feel free. I when somebody asks me, where are you from? I said, my body, we was brought to Dominican Republic, so I'm from the universe. I say to people in like a joking way, because if you're telling people something like that, they don't even think that there's another planet. They will look at me like I'm weird. Any case, but that's the way I make a joke about it, because I never feel like I belong to any place really in particular. And I don't know, maybe that's helping me to be so detached.
What's often, you've heard Abby talk about, being born in a soul family where you needed to just be born into. It's all about the skin suits,
Mm-hmm.
the physical skin suits, really. And then you can go, and lots of us probably have left their countries and, might have returned or not. I mean, I've left, and I certainly have had to go back for holidays quite a few times. Yeah, to meet the family and all of that, but there was a draw because, you know, I was triggered a lot when I went back. So I can't live here. I don't want to speak German. That kind of thing. And you know, when I usually get that, then I know you keep coming back, baby, until you're not saying that anymore. You know, that's just, I am like a dog with a bone when it comes to that. And I can seriously say, you know, I can go back now out of pure choice. You know, whatever I had to conclude or about karmic resolution at the end of the day, I have done, you know, and I have a completely different level of joy now when I go back. You know, I can really enjoy whatever comes up. Lana, where you going? You haven't said anything. I have to. What does she say?
Let's make Lana late.
Okay. All right, darling. All right. So yes.
That's such a rich opportunity for growth, Martina. Like going back and, you know, because like family and generally like where we're raised has such a powerful weight on like our inner emotions, et cetera, and just just facing them and resolving them. It's so liberating.
It's just, you know, I mean, I got thrown out when I was 19, and I left with a bag. And the next day I was back. I went back, and I was totally ignored and and because for me it was like, what are you doing? Why would you throw me out? I don't understand, you know, this makes no sense. As my parents, how can you throw me out? I haven't done anything, la la la. So I went back, and it obviously went the wrong way. So I left again, and you know, it took me a couple of years to act, but I would never give up. It was like my sister was saying, no, you're not going back, and la la la. I said, well, of course I have to go back. It was just not in my universe that I could leave something like that without getting to the root cause of it, you know. I was by far too curious in a way. And I think, you know, this is just one of those things I've done all my life with everything, really. Just everything is interesting, really. Until you don't have a trigger anymore, then that's fine, because then you're not drawn anymore. That's when you have real choice, right?
Nice.
That's so true. So true. So true. Which is one thing my husband doesn't understand. Like, why wouldn't you want to go back and see? I'm like, he needs to still do that. Obviously, he needs that obligation that he has to, you know, that. So I don't need to. It's hard for him to understand that, but I'm Sean's neighbor, United States. So Pennsylvania, but I left at 21, got married at 21. So woo, hello. It's like, okay. Well, we left, went to Texas. This is all for job purposes. So you leave for job opportunities, because we grew up in Pittsburgh, which was a steel town, and it kind of like died, and
wow.
There's nothing there anymore. And so luckily we knew that before, you know, he went into the tech business. So it's like, oh, okay. So I'm telling you, I was in a cave where I lived. We didn't travel really anywhere. So it was like, holy smokes, I'm going to Texas, you know.
Better put my boots and my cowboy hat on.
I know.
Honey, do we got to get jean jackets before we roll up?
The Canadian tuxedo. Wait, is that called the Canadian tuxedo with all the jeans?
I think you're right.
I think. But anyways, yeah. So we moved around, and we ended up back in Pennsylvania, but on the other side of like Philadelphia. So we can still see family, you know, and I have a big family. So, you know, but other than that, I would say I traveled to Italy once. I mean, Bahamas, Italy, Puerto Rico, like not much culture in probably like you have, Martine. I feel like you have a lot of culture background where I feel like I don't. But I'm going to say that since thank goodness for COVID. That's one thing, meeting everybody from all over the world
Mm.
and finding out different people other than in my little myopic world.
Mm.
It's been fascinating. It's been fascinating. And I don't know, I get chills. See, I get chills
It-
because
it-
it's like, I would never know Sean. Like, how would I know Sean? Where would I know? You know,
it's a new world.
it's a new world to me. That's why it's like I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Like, what?
Isn't
I
it
learned a lot.
something
Yeah.
really interesting growing up in a dying town?
Mhm.
Because I also grew up in a dying town, but I grew up in it at the same time when my parents' generation were my age and growing up. It was not a dying town, it was a growing town. So I got the opportunity to watch it die, and we had the opportunity to watch our parents or grandparents see it so beautiful and magical,
Yeah.
and then also watch it die. Because when people watch their town die and just fizzle out, they get pretty often generally they get very frustrated and sour about it. It's like the post office is gone, the library is gone, the fire department's gone, the gas station closed down, the convenience store closed down, the other convenience store closed down, and people just like, where did the life go? And then it's so nice. It's a beautiful opportunity to have. But it's really nice being in a growing environment versus a
Yeah.
receding environment.
Yeah. And I'd have to say, when I go back, and first of all, so my husband's Croatian, his dad was born over there, came over here, his grandfather, my husband's grandfather. So like, we're talking 1920s, 30s, and never spoke the language, never spoke Croatian, maybe to his parents he did, but that was like nobody, the Italians did. I'm half Italian, so they did speak it, but it was not like, let's learn this language, let's learn this culture. No, they didn't. They just got to work, and that's what you did. But I don't know, Sean, if you know, when I go back home, I still feel like it's in a time warp. Like it's still in the 70s. It's still in the 70s when I go back there. We're on the coast, because I think I live on a coast. It's always like new and changing, you know. But
Yeah,
I found that.
there's no industry in these
it's good.
areas. There's nothing, and people, well, they don't want it to change. It's like, well, they want to maintain their the culture is not the word, the traditions. But like, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's pretty interesting. Like, I'll go home, I'll see, oh, that person did a renovation. Like my town's got 800 people. Like, renovation, new stop sign. All right, someone put some paving stones down there, and you count the changes little by little. But it's kind of refreshing. It's very grounding. But when you're trying to change, it's hard to maintain change in a static environment.
Yeah, good point to that.
But it's so great. But it's nice to visit, because it's like,
Mhm.
it fills you with like, because for me, back to your original question, Martina, about how's the external environment, like my hometown, when I was younger, I was so proud of it. I was like, this is where I'm going to live.
Yeah.
These are my people. This is awesome. And then slowly this feeling of like conquest came over me a little bit. Like, Canada's so big. My country's so big. I need to explore it. I need to charter it all. I need to go see what's all out there. And then I kind of broke free of my county and started seeing the province, and then seeing other provinces and starting to bind them all together. But it was like, literally, but conquest is the word. Like, I have to discover all this. It's just so big and fast.
Mhm.
So when the town you grew up in was the one that was dying, right?
Yeah.
The way I could look at that, or we could look at that, is like growing up in a dying town. This is fascinating for me. I don't know that. I have never been there.
It really shapes the people, but keep going.
But it's almost like, something in you was dying that needed to die, just like, because everything has, a purpose and a reason for you to get out. Because would you have ever got out and explored more of the world if the town would not have died?
No, because that's the thing. It's like my town, in my whole 30 years of life, I think it's built 5 or 6 new houses. And in the last, maybe in the last year, I think there's been 3 or 4 new houses. Like the last 2 years have been 3 or 4 new houses. So this is like just more than ever. And it's like there's only so many places for people to live. So it's like, it's like there's only X amount of spots. And if there's not a spot, you just gotta go because there's no room for you. There's no room for any growth. It's like, well, there's nowhere to stay, so I have to go. So it kind of kicks you out the door a little bit.
Amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing, because when I think back, it's like I had no clue why. I just thought this is what you do. It almost like it's like spirit, soul said, nope, you're gonna go here now. Poop.
Yeah.
Like when I look back.
Yeah. I remember that too. I would have never left Austria. I wasn't in a place where I was thinking, oh, I have to get out of here. Something that crossed my mind, because I have this capacity to make do with everything, to get along with everything if I have to, but it wasn't meant to be that way. I probably wouldn't be alive if I would have stayed. That was very clear to me very much afterwards, when I did leave. So, that guidance that we talk about, there is often a very divine soul dynamic behind our choices. And we all said, oh, this is so cool when we find something that we didn't know that was out there. Well, how much of our lives has been guided like that, right? And of course, guys, creating that, this is what we forget, because it's like, oh, this happened to me. Well, nothing actually really happens. On some soul level, you have created that, you have contracted that out.
But it was so unconscious at the time.
Because you're so in it.
Yeah, for me, you just did it. You didn't even, okay, let's go. Okay. Fear, of course, it's like, oh my God, but I've never left this town. What? And then your whole world just opens up. It is fascinating. But yeah, I would have to say unconsciously,
That is the cool thing. This is where hindsight and foresight comes in and everything. And also I think, and this is why, I'm a bit on this intellectual, sort of hoo-ha at the moment, because I'm starting to realize more and more, as we're coming out of this emotional stuff, because that's what we're doing, right? We're just getting rid of our programming so that we're finally coming out of this emotional sort of dependency. And then, how are we being motivated? Well, we are being motivated, yes, through the heart and all of that, and through the intellect. Because, when we look back, what have we done when we do our journals for victories and for this and for that? Well, then what comes in is to say, okay, well, let's bring that structure together. How have I actually created in the past to carry on creating and maybe even better? And of course, everything is a stepping stone, everything around us. So an example for me would have been a couple of years ago when I first moved into this house. I had some sort of shaman lady come to cleanse the whole thing before we moved in. And she did her feathers and she did all her little, smoky bits and stuff. And she also did a little bit of a profile. And she looked at my pictures, and I have lots of frames. I still have actually lots of frames, and there's nothing in it. I just love the frames, so they're standing up there and there's nothing in it. And she said, so what's with that? And I didn't even think about it. Yeah. Only when she started, what's with the frames? Nothing in it. So something is not complete in your life. So there's something wrong with you. And I'm looking at that. I'm thinking, that's really intriguing. I've got about 6 or 7 frames.
They got potential.
I'm like, and she says, no, you got to fill it up. And I'm thinking, you crazy? I can't fill that up. They have to remain exactly like they are, because it reminds me of potential, or reminds me of the
void.
They little portals. I didn't even understand. And I still don't, to be honest. I need to actually elaborate on that a little bit. But she said to me, you have to feel those frames. And I'm like, I don't think so. But what does that say about me as we are asking that question? But what does it say about me that I cannot be confined in a fucking frame?
Mm,
Can't be boxed in.
mhm.
No.
But and yes, there was a time
I forgot I could change the picture in the box anytime I want, but I can't be framed in.
it's more than that, because I have a lot of framed pictures as well. But particularly ones cannot. And I'm actually, as I said earlier, these are portals.
Mm,
Portals. I didn't even think about it.
Mhm.
And you know what's interesting is that I had a couple of years ago, I went to an artist with my friend who's no longer around. And I asked him, I loved his stuff, very, very creative, huge pictures, lots of blobs and nothing particularly, you didn't really know what was going on. He was fascinating. And I asked him to do a portrait of me. And I never heard of him again. And then a year later, I went there again. I said, so what's with my portrait? And he said, you know what? I tried. I really tried. I said, what do you mean?
I tried.
Put you on a canvas. And
God.
really, he was really like embarrassed. I said, the biggest compliment you can ever make. You keep
Oh my.
me. My energy is not to be captured. I love that.
So interesting.
When you talk about the photos being portals,
Mhm.
like the strongest one that just jumps out for me is at my grandmother's house. The house is gone, like she's passed away. But there was this picture, not too big, but it had all the grandchildren in it. It was about 13 of us with these little round egg-shaped pictures. And, I'm like 1.5 years old with food all over my face. The youngest grandson was some like 20 years older than me. But 13 of us in this picture. And it was always on the wall, same spot, same place. And it always took your focus. Always. It just, and unchanged. You know how grandmothers' houses don't change. But they're like these little time capsules that make you feel so safe and secure and comfy. But that was the portal right there.
Wow, that's cool.
This-
Well, let me ask you, Martina, is there glass on your frames or is it open?
Open.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Open. Dusty as hell as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Show you this one.
Yeah.
See
Oh, these look beautiful.
the yellow one? Can you see that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that found me earlier in summer.
Wow.
Talking about frames too, I just want to toot my own horn a little bit, but I just got a fucking diploma that I'm going to put in a frame.
Oh,
Yeah.
Master of
master.
acupuncture diploma. Oh, well done.
Oh,
Well done, you.
So this is going to get it in a frame. Not to steal your
yes.
thunder and keep talking about the frames, but
Ah,
That took
yeah.
3 years, eh?
just about 2.
Oh, just about 2. Okay, so you're
Well,
fully acupuncturist now?
no, I got to do the province license. This is the college license or college diploma, which you need to take the license.
Okay.
But keep talking about your portraits. I just wanted to just show that.
Cool.
No, this is fantastic. Are you going to start practice at home, or you're going to
I'm going. Our man AB. You know what he does? He always makes you think fucking bigger than you can think. And so I'm starting out big, like at least my big. So right now for New Year's, I'm trying to find a building to rent with 4 rooms. So, and because it's going to take me forever to actually get my license because of the test, and it takes like 6 months. But I'm going to get 2 practitioners right away, and I'm starting my own business.
Yeah.
Right off, like just healthcare practitioners, and I'm going to be at the desk doing schooling and taking in the people for them to work with until I get my license all legally sorted.
Do you know what?
Cool.
Idea in these energies now, and speaking from my own experience, being a therapist can be a very lonely experience. Very lonely when you're doing it from your home. And it takes extra vigilance and determination to keep yourself motivated. But if you do it the way you're doing it, where you're actually working in service together, is the dynamic is going to be completely.
I even just sent some pictures to my realtor today to find the place.
Yeah.
But I want to find a house, almost like a Victorian house with the rooms. So I can just have 4 rooms, eventually fill them up with people plus me, and then just transform, because I'm fucking ready. I'm feeling this crazy. Last time I transformed this much was 5 years ago, living in the middle of the woods, building a cabin. And I tell you what, building a place in the middle of the woods is hard. Is really, especially when you're so gung-ho on doing everything right. like everything's got to be a piece of art. Everything's got to be powerful. Like, it's like, man, it takes your whole fucking lifetime to do that kind of stuff. And that was a big change for me. And this feels like that all over again. And that changed my life for, like, you know, it's like, now we're doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To think big.
Yeah, gotta think big. Because, like, I wouldn't have thought that big. I would have thought smaller.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You mentioned something quite you said Victorian house. So, you know, every house, just like every room, every picture, everything. What does the Victorian house say about you?
It's just, well, one, they have that homey feeling a little bit. And then the other thing, it's a very practical sense. They just, a lot of them already have rooms made. Like, because a lot of them, they don't have that modern, some if they've been renovated, but they don't have that giant open concept that's pretty normal now. Like, a lot of time they're just segmented into many mediocre, strange sized rooms.
So
with
can
a smallish living room.
right there. So how many segmented, mediocre sized rooms do you have in yourself?
It's a lot. If we start counting dream spaces, it's okay, like way a lot. More than I can count on fingers and toes.
Happy with that, yeah?
No, well, it's like something I'm just trying to unify.
Well, now is your opportunity. Now the facilitator's coming out.
And it's coming to us like, man, this is a bit harder than, like, sometimes I always jump into the situation like the grace that I know how to do it all.
So I want you to really write this down. Segmented, mediocre little compartments.
It's great hearing you say that.
I'll go back on this one, yeah? When we do the recording, segmented, mediocre little compartments. That's what you said. That's what you want in your house.
Thank you. I gotta change mediocre because that's not what I want.
Well, I don't think you can even go with segmented.
No, like, unified, harmonious.
All I'm saying to you,
Organs.
you're attracting our houses to us. Just in case you're not finding your segmented, mediocre, compartmentalized little Victorian house, because I don't necessarily see the coherence with your energy on that one. But it's quaint. It's quaint.
Yeah, it's like.
Well, Victorian. Okay, what I thought when you said Victorian, I thought intricate, detailed.
Like, I'll show you the picture of the one I took today.
Because, you know, you're putting needles, that's very detailed and very intricate to place needles in people.
That's a very good point.
So that's how,
like a Victorian house. Yeah, I'm still looking.
Yeah, very detailed.
Because I'm gonna live there too, by the way. Because rent is astronomical in Toronto, so I gotta live upstairs.
Perfect idea. Perfect.
So I need a house.
Yeah.
Love it.
Are you in the city, Toronto?
I'm in Toronto. Yeah.
Okay, I have friends in Waterloo.
Oh, neat.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
beautiful.
But you're right, Amy. It does make a sense energetically because you are an acupuncturist.
Yeah,
You
the
have to,
detail and you know,
and you're
intricate.
right. I didn't actually think about that. You're absolutely right. So maybe that house is the right house for the work that you are doing.
But not mediocre.
Not
We're
medi-
going last thing from mediocre.
Scratch the medium.
No.
It's the mediocre is a little bit of the my feet dragging, because like what I was trying to say is like these projects are always a bit tougher than you think they are, you know, because you need that courage that you can do it, and then you start going and you're like, whoa. Some of these individual steps, they just don't happen exactly how you plan them to, but they happen. And that seems to be my archetype. It's easier to confront a situation when it's right in front of you and it is a situation. Like you can only plan so much, and then you just gotta
Mm.
do
So
something.
now you have to expand out. You have to look down, eagle eye view.
Yeah, I'd like, because that's the eagle eye view is kind of what just says, Dan, you can do this. I got
Yeah.
this. And then you move forward, and then all of a sudden you move forward, and then you have the individual circumstances. Like finding a place can be hard, you know, getting website going can be hard. Insurance can be like easy, but you just have all these individual steps. You got to do a hiring process. It's like, okay,
But you
Yeah.
realize these things are already out there for you.
yeah.
Those people are already there. The house is already there.
Oh, it's waiting.
Everything's just waiting for the time. It's waiting for you, Sean. It's waiting for you.
And it's beautiful how things amalgamate quickly. Because I was a little bit bummed I didn't take my exam, like for the licensing exam, because it's going to take me like an extra like 10 months to get it, because it's like that's a long time.
Yeah, but that's not the point. The
I know,
point
no,
for you,
but at
no,
first,
I'm looking at the energy. You came back to this town for that reason.
Mm.
Bring the people together.
yeah, and then but that's it. I mean, like at first,
Something that has never been there.
I was bummed though. I was like, oh shit, I screwed up, and then it just takes a little bit longer. It's like, you know what? I can make this work for me. I can make this work even better than if I, did it the way I wanted to. And it's just kind of coursing the river.
But I don't even see, I see it had to be that way. It couldn't be any other way, because
Yes.
the main purpose is you putting it together. Yeah, you will be working there, but that's actually beyond the point. So you not having the license yet gives you that possibility to really focus on bringing it together, because this is what you're going to do. Now, think of that movie. What did this guy do? Zac Efron, when he took the
He just brought his beers to a battlefield.
You bringing yourself and your tools and your gifts back into a town that's coming out of death.
Yeah, like I'm not in my small town. Like Toronto's, it's kind of booming a little bit, but it's still a
Still
monument,
there's
significant.
Compartmentalized.
Because I'm close enough to drive. It's like 2.5 hour drive to visit where I grew up. You go through some distance, but I got to bring that home. Like everything, it's like you can feel it. I can feel it. Everyone can feel it when you make these changes. It's like it's unquestionable.
It's so amazing. And so many people are being drawn back home now to their original places. Doesn't have to be exactly that town, but back into that country.
Yeah. Can I just share with you an old AB story? And what's just so funny about how he makes you think big, right? And how he individualizes for people so well. Because this is back like 3 years ago, 3.5. It's when I really started getting into the material. And I started listening to so many things, right? And like, you know how many callers he told people to go get past life regression schooling? Well, like it was me, I was jittery back then, because I was like in between like 8 different worlds, like trying to figure out, which way to move. And I signed up in Miami, Florida for like a past life regression school. Cause like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. And then I have a call with Andrew. He's like, that's not for you. I was like, well, you tell everybody to do this. He was like, I was like, fuck. And then like, just this whirlwind from massage But in one of our conversations, he's like, well, you know, you could do Chinese medicine and you could be a doctor. And he kind of did this at the end of the phone call, right? Like after, like, you know, he trickle feeds you a little bit, like you can see the picture, so you can see the picture, so you can see the picture, and then you're inspired, and then kind of smacks you with this big idea. But it was like, oh yeah, I'll do past life regression. He's like, no.
Perfect example, thank you, for what the outside external world
Mhm.
is teaching us about us. The
I used to think the same way. Oh, I got to do that. He says that to everybody on the I got to do that. And even like, I got to be like Martina. I got to be like Sean. I got to be, no, that takes you away from that just takes you away from everything that's here. Like the soul we were talking about, like the ancient soul inside me. Because that's not why I'm here, to be like somebody else. No.
But then again, everything is a stepping stone.
Yeah.
That's why I'm this big
Yeah.
fan of the synthesis, you know, just grab this, grab that, look at this. If it resonates on some level, grab it until it doesn't, you know.
Yeah.
There was a time where I was a therapist since 2005. Now I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done with the physical. And funny enough, in the reading that he did do with me in 2014, he said to me, I should have never become a therapist with my hands. That was not my path. All the shit that happened to me misled me into that. I was never divinely orchestrated. You know, it's just one of those fucking timelines, you know, and I took that because of whatever the hell was happening at the time. And, you know, if I look at it, he didn't say, oh my God, you should have never, no, that was actually not your path, the best possible path. But I had to do it. I had to do a fucking detour.
Now we know those detours.
And then the problem is, you are good at it. You know, that was so many people I worked with as well. Just because you're good at it doesn't mean you should be doing it.
It's totally the good at it. It's always like, it's what you know.
Well, it's actually, it's what you know. That's the first one. But it's like, hey, I'm good at it. I'm making money with it. It's like I'm enjoying it. But there's something else out there that you could enjoy even more. It's like, oh, I didn't think about that. You know what I mean? And that's what we have to allow ourselves. We can be in a situation that works perfectly well and say, you know what?
Okay, so what was telling you or us or that was, okay, this is where I get tricked up, because you're like, well, this is what I need to do right now, you know?
Oh, you
And
know.
then you do know.
So
Okay.
in my case, you know, I had clients since 2005, you know, I had thousands of clients, you know, then it started drying out.
Oh, so that's how you know.
More marketing than it was word by mouth. People just rocked up, you know. My website search engine is crap, has always been, you know what I mean. It's not that. But then the difficult thing is, you know, when you're in that space and you know you're good and you're doing good, and when you do it you're enjoying it, to really say, okay, I'm letting this go now. Because if you're not letting it go, if you're holding on to it, the new thing can't come in.
Mm.
So it's like, oh, I have to go in the void space. I have to take out my frame. There is no picture in it. Remind me. There's no picture in it. There's another one. Of course I can, you know, take one in and out, but you know, I'm beyond that. I just don't put any out because I know it takes a little bit of time. And once I'm done, I'll put in another one. But then there's the judgment. Oh, what's wrong with me? People do this for 20 years and they're happy and they get better and you know, and more, what's called, everybody knows them, and who cares? It's not my joy. It's not what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, you're not a static being. You're constantly growing.
Yeah, and that's what we said in the beginning. You weren't there, Sean. It's like that is the soul. And it's almost like the soul is urging me. Because when we talk about me, well, yes, the body is the instrument. I'm not my body. So who am I? Well, it's the soul impulsing us continuously. So we cannot say, whilst we don't want to over-identify with the soul, we can't say the soul doesn't have an identity. Of course the soul has a fucking identity. And it reinforces it over lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. It looks different all the time. But my soul now, I know, it's not a therapist, it's a thinker, it's a philosopher, it's a, a creator on a galactic human level. It took me that fucking long to figure it out.
I met a random guy in Alberta when I was down on my luck. Because I, like you, I was also in the oil industry, or like the big industries, like just work to make money. And but he called that situation the straight curveball from God. And I was like, what is this fucking like, all right, I guess it's just another straight curveball.
I had to do everything I've done. I have absolutely no regrets. I said that in my book. I can't.
Yeah.
Regrets. It's
And
just,
it's like the Janie Sams again too. It's like destined to do some parts the hard way, or at least the long way, the detoured way.
because
And it just is what it is.
you got to enjoy every single step of it. If it's long-winded or not, sometimes it helps not to even know, to be honest, because sometimes ignorance can be blissful. Of course, now we're at the level where it's no longer that, ignorance is no longer blissful. Now we have to take a different level of responsibility. But now also, I would say that our perception is so much more refined that we no longer put ourselves in situations that are actually not conducive to our perception.
Yes, because like so many of my past events, and now that I see it, are shaded with war. Like they're just shaded in that fight, the struggle, all that. Like, you just got to push to get through. Because again, I was born with the small town. Because there's different. It's interesting when you look at different roots. Like you got ethnic families in Canada whose parents came over the shore to make a better life, and like they pass on to their kids. You work really hard and you can do these amazing things. But in my generation, it was, you work really hard, you do your time, and good things will come to you. But that's not, it is, but but you get caught in that shell that if you just work really hard, good things will happen. But no, there's more than that. You kind of get the system around here, like it kicks people in the ass who do that. Like you just don't get rewarded for working hard. You got to do more than just work hard. You got to dream big.
You got to dream big, and you got to work smart.
Yeah.
The smartness. I mean, if I look at what I'm doing at the moment, writing hours and hours and hours, some people say, "Oh, you're working hard." Well, no, it's not work. I got to do it, and I enjoy doing it. I don't want to do anything else. It's like that smart working is when you do something and there is almost nothing else for you to do because you have to do it because you're so drawn to it. You're so focused. That's the soul coming through, channeling that focus through you if you are allowing it. And this is why I had to do every single thing. I had to get rid of all my conditioning. I also had to do the journey of solidification and learning all the things and making money, because I couldn't do this now if I wouldn't have done the other journey before. Because I like to sit in a house that is warm.
Yes.
I don't want to get out of a suitcase. It's not something I've done this in other lifetimes. I've been a fucking monk. I've been in communes and everything, had absolutely nothing. Why the hell would I do this again? I've done it, been there, done it. So when you have sometimes, you look in your reality and certain things are not there. Yeah. I say, well, it's easy for you to say because it's not easy for me to say. It's very clear. I don't have to do it because I've done it before. Yeah. It's not my journey. I'm not in a war country at the moment. I will never be, because that's not what I've been before. I've done that warrior journey, you know? So this is why it is so important, so funny, interesting for me. It's curious to look at what's going on around you. So that picture I showed you early on, the one I found, the yellow one, it's like, oh yeah, these are the energies. It's all about energies, right? That spiral in between, the connecting the below and the above, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I just walked in straight to the place. Yeah, I'm taking this. There was no
You.
it just, because that's what is telling me to connect the above and the below, the above and the below. You and, that's what I'm here for. That's the reminder. What is it telling me about me? Well, yes, thank you. A reminder. And every time I look at it, thank you.
Mhm.
I love when we get to that point too, just with what you're saying, but we keep zooming out further and further. And then that point comes in, it's like, I had to be part of the Galactic Ascension machine. That shit was awesome. Because it's just a slight rephrasing of the mantle of responsibility. But you can't change what you're not responsible for. If like all the bad things that happen to you in life, if you're not responsible for them, you can't change them. If you're not responsible for your past lives, you can't change them. If you're not responsible for creating what you create, you can't change it. So you have to be responsible for something to have the innate ability to change it.
Is that what you're talking about? Like the journey part, the awakening part, if you call it the awakening part. So once you become awakened to that, then you're responsible for that.
I think that macro thing that I'm trying to attribute to is that coming back to free will, and like, are we responsible enough to have free will? And inherently, to be responsible enough to have free will on the greatest scales, you got to go through the Galactic Ascension machine, and you have to accept all of its teachings for face value. Because we've dreamt up hard times for ourselves, and that was our free will to do so. And that was the lesson to do so. And as soon as we accept responsibility for that scale of awareness, it's now that we can make our great changes, because we've accepted our responsibility. And since it's our responsibility, we can change it. But if it's not our responsibility, there's nothing we can do about it. And we're just a victim in the whole ordeal.
So I really like that, because this is a phrase that, you don't usually see. You can't change it if it's not your responsibility. I like that. That's a bit of a mind twister there. And look at response in order to unravel it. You can look at responsibility is the ability to respond, right? So, you can't change anything if you don't have the ability to respond, right? And the ability to respond is actually getting out of resistance, because if you're resistant, then you don't have the ability to respond. And that's exactly it. As long as you're in resistance, things change. So
And you can't respond without experience. You can respond, but it won't be as controlled or quite what you want. And we all know we have a lot of experience under our belts.
Well, exactly. And what you said, let's not forget, guys, the Galactic Ascension machine, not everyone's in it. We've chosen. We are, without blowing our trumpets now, whatever, we are supposedly champion souls.
We're fucking champions.
Yeah.
We are super duper champions. Us here talking.
Yeah.
We are Rocky.
It's, it's so much easier to just float around in the astral realm or something like that. But, that's actually boring. It's really boring, because anyway, we do it all, this is coming down here and this is the other thing is, this is what is embodied spirituality is really having to be ramped down people's throats to really understand that it's not an escape into the astral realms. No, nothing happens in the astral realms that is actually compared now, okay, correct, compared to what experiences create for the evolution of the soul in the physical realm. So we have to be in the physical realm. And as much as we want to, you know, obviously have the connection. I mean, for me, when I talk about wanting the connection to the galactic and everything, this is not to escape, but this is to gain more, a bigger perspective so that I can bring in the teachings.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So,
like,
go ahead.
well, with that galactic ascension understanding, it's that understanding that we're now ultimate creators. We've mastered our 100% free will and what it can do, and what I dare say consequences, but more or less what set of actions it puts forward in motion. But like with that degree of creation, we can simultaneously, you know, do these things on Earth, or we can just, you know, mess around in the astral world. Like we can do all of that, and we understand the pros and cons and values of in the natures of each individual experience. You know, and the joy of this one, because we know the joy of Earth is that things constantly keep happening that never have happened before. New brain. That's why everyone's watching it, because there's a chance. That's why dragons want to be a part of us. You know, they're part of all those astral worlds, but here they got a chance to see things that have never ever happened before, like mining a Bitcoin or whatever. You know, it's like you got that small chance of getting that brand new experience, and we get that. So that's what's so cool about being here.
Yeah.
Being here, being embodied, and then at the same time having the awareness of all the other realms and being able to create different versions of ourselves. You know, I just said to Emma, she said, oh, it's work, this and that. And I said, you know, just give me a call. And she's, it would be nice if you'd be, you know, if you'd be with us then. I said, well, I am. I just made a version of myself, you know, just consider myself sitting there, you know, because that's what we can do now. You know, and maybe in the beginning it was a bit like, okay, well, let's just make it up, right? We're just making it up. And I'm not even making it up anymore. I totally get it. I'm there. Because you know what it's like. You sit in your own living room and all of a sudden you get this whoosh, what's going on? Somebody's thinking about you, right? Somebody's having a whatever conversation with you, and you're literally picking it up as our psychic capacities are turning on more and more and more. And I think this is the other thing is, you know, as you know, going back to our thing, what is my external world showing about me is, let's swap it around. What are we showing what are we creating in the external world through being us?
Yeah, that one was really I had goosebumps earlier when we were moving forward, because I've always had this instinctual energy to be a pioneer, and literally Canada is like, and same with North. What's that?
Sorry to interrupt, but Herminia is
Herminia.
coming back.
You know, North America has this strong pioneering energies, and I was so strongly a part of these pioneering energies. Like, and then you literally, if you go east to west, you can kind of see it like this time traveling wave where everything's died, trees cut down, factories, this or that. And then you slowly get to the West Coast where it's like this, you know, it's like the last vestige of the horizon a little bit. But then coming back and then just being okay. And we can make everything new again, like in that old cycle. And
John,
for me,
you are a pioneer.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like,
But this is
yeah.
Wow, qué lejos
A
estamos.
new
your country. You are.
Espera un segundo, pues ya pasé al otro lado. Estoy seleccionando los asientos.
Yeah.
You are.
Sean, this is what the country was showing you. You're a pioneer.
Yeah. A new well.
Yeah, but you know, just the pioneers and I love it. And like, I've always had this bright, blazing admiration to be like a pioneer, but fuck, pioneers make a lot of mistakes, you know, because they're trudging forward into the great unknown, and that's fine. But it's like, that's all this war coming back, because I know I've made a lot of mistakes pioneering.
Does it
Yeah.
trick, John?
And
Does it work for you?
Because I want to be on the adventure horizon, you know. It's always been this. I want to be where the magic happens.
Well, you can't go back to Canada and want that. It makes no sense.
Well, I know I'm pioneering, but I'm doing that in my own magical way. But
No,
the big
okay,
thing
wait,
is,
let
like, yeah, go Amy, go.
okay. Pioneers, if you can hear me, my internet's going again. But yeah, they move together as groups, right? Ooh, they follow. They're like follower. They follow each other, and let's move to the west and let's go. You're doing it solo. Like, you're solo, man. You're creating. You're just creating. You don't even know you do know, but I just felt like you're doing
I don't
it
know. There's a
solo.
lot in unknowingness.
There is, but remember, fear, you know, there's really,
Yeah.
it's false evidence. But yeah, he is plugging along his own pioneering skills in his own way. You're not following anybody.
No, but he will have people. Because following in this is no longer working. This energy
Right.
is, what's the leader of the pioneers? Whatever that general.
I wanted to say the leader of the Mormons just for fun, but I couldn't remember his name. Yeah, dude.
You're gonna create. Okay, so that's it. You're creating a thought construct. Okay, you've already created that thought construct. That you're going to create this healing center. It's a healing center as far as I'm concerned, in whatever house it's going to be at the end of the day. And you are bringing that thought form is actualizing now. Yeah. So you're sending that thought form out. And it's in the astral world, right? But we don't want it to get lost in the astral, right? So it's going out there. It's all trickling out. So it's not, okay, so now with that thought form is gonna, attract the house to you and the people to you and the equipment that you need. And then, your other certifications and everything. You are a pioneer. You're bringing people together. You're doing that. That's the energy.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, if there are any little background voices, I'm gonna make mistakes, and so, yeah, of course you're gonna make mistakes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Can I please take the black long LK Bennett
Sorry, guys. MZ. What code?
House is on fire.
But not my other code.
No.
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna go.
Okay, Shati.
Love you.
Love you too. Okay, sorry, guys. It's like... So,
Cats and daughters.
well, pioneer. Yeah, that's what you're going to do. Oh, thought forms. Yes. So the thought forms are it's a bubble, right? The big bubble. There's your thought form. You created it through your thoughts, through your what you want. And now everyone's going to add it. We've just added huge energy to that. So we're just going to call in the house, not at once. You got to call in the house. You don't even have to find it. You got to call it in, right? You got to call in these
Your little housey.
yeah, and put it on bubble and allow it to come down. It's like, think of my painting here, bring that thought form down into the physical,
Mhm. And that's,
reaction.
yeah, like I was talking about the other week, the context, during that context, and then that's the first step for it becomes super real.
Yeah.
Real enough to put a picture in the frame.
Yes. Well, you've got your certification that's gonna go in the frame. I can send you one of my frames. No.
No.
Come on, yard sales.
I've got so many of my frame certificates. I took them all down. I don't need them anymore. But anyway, so yeah, fantastic. But isn't that amazing when we start exploring a little bit? So why did I grow up in a pioneering country that had to die? And it's like, okay, because I'm a fucking pioneer, right?
But the wild part, like, because inherently part of me, and then you learn the history. We pioneered, but we raped and pillaged. Like, it was just this, like, that's what I'm remedying now. Cause like I can feel all these dream spaces that are just not the most friendly dream spaces, but still pioneering. It's just part of the process because you go with your intention, but sometimes you don't know the greater forces that have been at play.
Yeah,
So now
and
we get better and better at it.
they didn't know what they didn't know, you know?
Exactly. But that, we got tagged with all that karma, like literally tagged. But so we didn't know.
Yeah. There's
What to
another
do.
revocation, pioneer revocation.
Yeah. And in addition to that, because we were saying, we mustn't underestimate that one particular energy, we just call it one particular energy. And of course, it has all its little feelers going out everywhere. If that is a pioneering energy that you are working with and you're going back to Canada, you are healing the country, you're healing the soil, you're healing everything around you by doing what you're doing.
I guess I could say it's like that was the narrative providing a false light. I'm forgetting the term I want, but a false light, because it was me inside my knowingness all these years and lineages and generations. I wanted to be a pioneer, and this is the opportunity that was provided for me, which was pioneering, but it's just had this, wasn't quite the pureness that I'm trying to get to now. And this is just, resolving karma, et cetera, et cetera. But now we're entering, the bright stuff.
So I'm going to use this energy now. I'm going to ask Amy, because, you're a pioneer as well, because you have similarity. There's a country a town that's dying, and then you go, frankly, we're all pioneers, right?
Yeah.
But I like pioneer because it's just a lovely energy. And yes, that is surrounded by, death and this and this and that. But once we clear that, we can really step into that pioneering energy.
Well, I never thought of pioneer I always thought of it as like Little House on the Prairie. Like that was my favorite show. I loved all the Waltons. Were my favorite show. It was like this, that I never saw any bad energy about pioneering. I always thought it was just this beautiful way of moving across country, and I don't know, I guess me leaving that steel town, was my way of pioneering.
So Amy,
Yeah.
what did you find on that beach? Again,
My crab, horseshoe crab.
Well, you
My
found
ancient.
You found a shell that was deserted. I know.
Just got chills. Ooh, right up here.
And it kind of looks like your picture too, by the way, like your background image.
Yeah.
Like it's pointy like that. It's got
It is pointy like that.
There's an
Whoa.
shell, empty. Because you were saying you left that has been my shell. And of course we all hide in shells.
Yep, I was a hider.
But now the question is, what are you going to do with that shell? Are you going to fill it up with something else?
Okay, so let me just tell you one more thing that happened to me, and maybe you can, this is interesting, because my car battery died.
Okay.
mine too.
Did yours die too?
Fucking 3 days ago, or you died on Thursday night.
Friday, me. Yes. Okay.
It was a pain in the ass.
Well, I already took, I
on,
knew it
go
was,
on.
but anyways, I knew it was already going to die. So I took it to the dealership and said, here, I know it's going to die. And I was without a car all weekend, but yeah, so this is so funny. This is so funny. A new battery, right? New battery of life, the charge. This is going to be charged. This is my battery. This is my charging station.
Okay.
Because I don't know why. This just feels so ancient to me. Like, I just want to just hold it. I'm connected.
Can you hold it in front of your face, Amy, from the bottom, and then put it forward? No, other way. And then put it forward a little bit. Forward, up.
Oh, can you see the face. Can you see the alien face?
Woo! Eyes.
Eyes, mouth. 2 eyes, mouth.
Oh yeah. This.
Oh my God.
It lines up with you a lot.
Wow.
That's a total alien face. Can you see
It
that?
is total alien.
Oh my God.
Got big eyes,
Big
Ooh.
real big eyes.
mouth. Not such a big mouth, but compared
Right.
to wow.
That's okay. Sometimes I don't need to speak, right?
That's amazing.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow. Yeah. So this is my charging station where I go to charge. That's what it feels like. My battery of
And
soul
then
bat.
maybe
Yeah.
what we do is everyone that is still draining your batteries, people, can we now destroy and uncreate all that?
Yes. Thank you for that.
All that.
Yes.
Because this is what, so
Thank you.
interestingly enough, what happened to my car, it wasn't that the battery was drained, my brake pads needed replacing.
Classic. What have you been slowing down? What have you been dragging your wheels
Oh
about?
my gosh.
I looked at it from the opposite. It was like, replace your brake pads because you're going too fast. Make sure that they're functioning because you need to stop. You need to be able to brake safely. That's how I looked at it. Because I was obviously wearing myself out on some level by not wanting to brake. So the brake pads started to no longer function properly because I just like, whoosh, fuck the braking. We're not braking, right? Let's just go. And then the car said, no, I don't think so. We're not just going. I think you need to be safe in this physical reality, right? Oh,
And
okay.
I want to interject now too, just about how well, Martina, that you've caught keywords from both me and Amy that have just went over our heads in our unawareness. Like Amy's being shell and mine being mediocre. That if you didn't bring that to our attention, just would have been like, not catch that significance there.
It's very, very, it's fun. And you both are very symbolic, anyway. You have a lot of symbolism and but there is so much we give away in our language.
Yeah. And you think you're so good at it too, but I did that in complete unawareness. It just, because I'm talking about something so new and fresh, I just don't have didn't have the recognition, I suppose. But yeah, good one.
Yeah. And there's no longer we have to go into fucking therapy now and work with this. No, it's done. The awareness is there, done. Moving on.
Yeah, I want to do my own self therapy more. Just take the more time, like those transporting sessions you did for your mom, but with myself, and just that's my new therapy session. What I'm trying to bring in.
What I used to do, if you're good in with our phones, every message that you send to people, if they're asking you for advice, you've sent it, you don't think when you send it, but once you've sent it, you look at it and then you flip the coin and say, oh shit, yes, I need to do that. I need to, all the advice that you give, turn it around. And you're all in a sort of a healing environment, so you give a lot of advice probably. So it's always good. That's a very good, nice self-therapy. And then, of course, what we've done today is self-therapy. Yeah, we've talked people through it now, whoever is watching this, but that's what you got to do. You just, whatever you find, whatever you got around you, you just look at it, I mean, okay, these are always, okay, I should look at my paperwork. Yes, that too. But that kind of thing, why, or food, I mean, why do I eat certain foods? Why do I like that? What does it mean? What does it look like? Why do I wear that kind of clothes? Animals, why do I have a cat and don't have a dog? Right? I don't have a dog. No. Because I need a cat. Now, what does that say about me? I need
You're independent as fuck.
freedom. Yeah, I can't all the time. It's like, are you joking? No, you know, that kind of thing. It's everything that we have in our environment tells us about us. And of course, what does it mean? We're creating it. It's just a
Mhm.
reminder, you know? So,
It's funny you say that, because now I'm just making these connections of two things I found on the side of the road that I brought home that are around my desk.
Yeah,
As like, but here's the first one, which I have this little pig.
Yeah.
It's got like some things in it. But now that I realize, right beside it is another pig that I found on the side of the road. And how did this two pigs make its way into my life?
so what is that?
I don't know. I've never thought about this till this moment, but I
They're
have
very intelligent. They're very intelligent.
two pigs and one cat.
Two
Well,
pigs.
Pigs are where I come from, we use pigs as symbol of luck.
Mhm.
Back in the old days, you know, nobody had anything. If you had a pig, you were actually prosperous.
Bullshit.
Oh yeah.
Pigs
Sorry.
have prosperity and luck, whatever that means. I don't do luck anymore, but prosperity. So it's like, you know, you're starting to attract prosperity.
I think wealth and abundance, you know, because pigs are big fat, you know, they have stuff, they've collected stuff.
Mhm.
And, you know,
And
that
also-
can be seen both ways, but, you know, the pigs seem to be happy snorting around and rooting,
Mhm.
trotting.
Yeah. Roll in the mud.
They don't judge. I mean,
Yeah.
does no animal does, but they eat everything as well. They're not very choosy eater, right?
Right.
What does that mean? There is a
Mm.
diversity about a pig's food, right?
They're
Let's
kind of trash compactors sometimes.
yeah. But then again, you can define it the way you want. It's your pig.
Mm.
Yes, it could be trash. How much treasure is in it? Trash.
Yeah, the transmuters too.
Someone's trash is the other one's treasure. So you just got to flip the coin, man,
Mm.
and look at it from that perspective. There's a lot in that. Oh, that is something to look at. Why do you find two bloody pigs on the road?
On the side, like just in the neighborhood, like garbage day, people put out little things. It's like, oh, you know, bring that. I brought home a potato masher today.
Here you go.
There you go.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the thing. It's the same thing. Why have we got this weird sort of symbolism in our dreams
Mhm.
as well, right? Symbolism is something to not. Those symbols are. I love it. I love it. Work with it.
Yeah.
Work with it.
Mm.
Let me see if I've got anything around.
Yeah, look around. Everybody look around.
Well, I got
I
a
know.
glass here. What does that mean? Guinness glass.
Just waiting for that day that the right person comes and fills it up.
Right leader. Well, here you go. It was meant for Paul, but I'll take it too, right? But hey, I'll take it. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff.
I got these things. I found these like dried out
Oh,
shells and maybe making.
make a new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought they were cool.
Well, they
A
are.
bunch of them.
Yeah,
Shake up the.
I would totally. I do that too. I collect pods of that. But you see, it is peculiar and it is significant for you because somebody else would have never picked it up. So why does he pick it up? What is it telling you?
Surprising you. You know these guys?
Well-
like the cicadas.
Oh yeah.
All right, yeah.
I got a bunch from my yard last year, but this year there's like none.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Well, it's the cycle, isn't it? They come in cycles probably. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have anything that I collected, but I have my little shell.
I have so much I can't even start.
Yeah. I can't. It's not near me.
Like, you know. Oh, this is something actually. I must show you this because I haven't really figured out yet what this is all about. I found this. Look at this, baby.
Cool.
Whoa.
He's got teeth on his head.
That was, I had to take it. I was like, okay,
Yes.
Dum, 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 dum.
very tribal, hey?
Love it.
Now that's a pot as well. That's a flower thingy or something. And these are all seeds, eh?
Wow.
There's a little green. Oh, that's a jade in there. And then that's, I don't know, some sort of, yeah. Anyway, it's amazing, eh?
That's amazing.
And that I found, I went for a walk with my friend along the Thames. And we had a really wacky walk. We were walking and there was some, oh yeah, there was some thingy going on, some boat racing, you know, they always race up and down. And we were so aware of what was going on. There were so many spectators without bodies watching those boats going up and down, you know, all that thing, what was going on along the Thames. And I was, you know, and then I found this in the shop.
Found a mask.
I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Anyway,
A fun mask.
yeah. Must
It just looks like fun. Looks like something you could just bring out a night or two and just have a lot of fun with it.
actually, just like your shell, Amy,
Yeah.
I need to work with that a bit more because I'm very good. Like, yeah, that's great, cool. Hang up. So I really don't work with it. I need to work more. I think there's a message.
Yeah.
Really very interesting. Anyway,
I just dabble in my watercolors, like, you know,
nice.
I love watercolor, even though it's the hardest to do, but
Beautiful.
I just started to practice, you know, like little
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
colors. So
Yeah.
that's my little thing too, I was doing.
The watercolors are so nice. Like you don't,
Yeah.
because like at least I know you're like me at this time. Like you don't know how it's gonna work out, but the colors, you can't do any wrong because it just the colors blend and they're just
They
so
just-
pretty and
right,
they have this transition.
Yep. Especially if you don't have like, I'm very abstract with it. I don't really put a drawing to it because then that, you know, it messes the flow up for me. So I just kind of like have a thing in my mind. Like this just came from my somewhere.
Yeah.
And it just came on the paper.
There you
It's
go.
a message for me. So yeah, exciting. But I have to go, guys, because I have to go.
We all have to go. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you
Good
so
stuff. Very good stuff.
much for playing. That was really cool. And keep up the good work with that.
Yes.
Yes. See what comes
Keep up
out.
the good work, everybody.
Share.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone. Have a good
Bye.
one. See you
All right,
next
bye
week.
guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.